The dog she's had sitting for 25 years, getting rustier and rustier and rustier, has gone. But as the TARDIS dematerialises, oh sorry, that is, I've got, that is the rusty one, that is the interior, the fake interior Mike made. So you've only got room there for the works. That's why we only run on a very flat floor. But here, I took the original one down for the last sequence, a special guest appearance by, much rougher ground. In fact, ironically, the newer rusty one wouldn't run on this. It was far too rough for it. But because this one, it's a dog that easily runs on it. So Liz was reunited with the original one, and David Tennent met it for the first time. And they go off into the sunset. I did mention John Leeson, I see him again later. Here he is in more recent years. They are both the original dogs. That's the real one, that's the real rusty one. But it was after that, we didn't know about it, but Russell decides he wants some spin-off programs of his own. Torchwood for the more adult audience, which never quite succeeded. Anyway, and the Sarah Jane Adventures for, frankly, the Buffy audience. And the canine, there's quite a convoluted story, which ask me afterwards if you want to, about canine wasn't originally in it a great deal. He appeared, you can see him here, we're green screening him for some appearances where he's supposed to be stuck looking after a black hole. He's there, but he's not there. But also by that time, he was getting very, very tatty. You can see the head's been hit the scenery so many times. It's got a rather quizzical twist to it. What, me? Things like the bumpers at the bottom are missing on there, but he's getting very bashed around there. Plus, we're moving from standard definition television to HD. Whatever that is, because it's never been decided, but we're shooting in HD. Got to rebuild the dog. Okay, I'll rebuild the dog. So, he got stripped down completely for the second time. Last one was 1990. That's the basic body of the dog. That's the shelf where all the electronics are. That was me, that's repairs being done because there were a lot of cracks and things. Some strengthening bars put in. The window that was the viewer screen never was, it was only a piece of plexiglass in there. And when I took this frame off, I realised the whole, it wasn't even square. Somebody had gone with the jigsaw. That'll do. It's only standard definition television, it won't matter, that gets pushed around it. This has now got a properly fitted moulding around it, it's sprayed in. It even was in red at one point, that was a primer colour on it. So this is the stages of rebuilding him, so he could re-emerge. And he re-emerges to meet David Tennent again. So the first thing David wanted was to have his photograph taken with the dog. No anything else. This was the story when he reappears again to stop Sarah Jane getting married to an alien. And there were some publicity shots. The dog actually, strangely enough, never appeared in the New Times. It never did. But just the publicity shot. Mainly because the floor is a grid, and he's clever, but he won't run over that. And since then, of course, Doctor Who's taken off. You've got it here. We've had episodes shot here. Even episodes have been actually paid for by Showtime over here, not BBC America, strangely enough. Showtime gave them more money. Okay, it's going to go to Showtime. I can also say the weakest thing, because you had it here with the same presenter, because you couldn't find an American nasty enough to present it. And they did a special with Doctor Who. It was very odd actually, because here were the actors. That wasn't Doctor Who, that was David Tennant. But the dog wasn't John Leeson, it was the dog, so it was a bit odd. We're also wondering, if you know your weakest link, you know, they write down the answers. It's a dog, he hasn't got hands, hasn't even got paws to write. This is the electronic version. We have two versions, one they actually physically write, and one they write it out and it appears on the screen. This was this one. So what would happen was, quite genuinely, the question would come out to the dog. John would be listening, he'd give me the answer. I mean, it was pretty simple, like what's 1 and 1? You couldn't get it wrong. I would then rush around to the back where there's a duplicate one of these, scribble it in sort of dog writing, appears on the screen. I said to John, we're going to keep doing this throughout the programme. Luckily, he got voted off on the first round and did the walk of shame. I don't know if you get them over here, but we do a series on BBC Three, which is the youth channel, called Doctor Confidential. It's a bit like the bits you get at the end of the DVDs and things. And they did one of the dog. For some reason, they took him to a local park and got a Cyberman to push him down on a roundabout. I'm still not quite sure what the director was smoking when it was. And also, in particular on the Invisible Enemy story, you'll see the complete raft of the story of him. And we got Tony back to my workshop with the dog. The dog hasn't been rebuilt at this stage, it's just before that. So he met his creation again. We got Nigel Brackley back with the new radio control to try him out in my back. I say back garden, we call them yards here for some reason, backyard. And that's me and Nigel. And I'm holding the then new radio control. He's holding one of those original Futadas you saw pictures ago. And so he stayed in Sarah Jane, particularly for seasons 3 and the beginning of season 4. There he is in the front room of the house, which is meant to be in Ealing. If you know London, Ealing is a West London suburb. This is shot in Cardiff. Cardiff's in Wales, all the signs are in Welsh. So they have to go around covering all the Welsh up. The police cars, instead of having Headley, which is Welsh for police, have to have police on them instead. Otherwise thinking, why has a car in London got Headley on it? We went to the Hoover factory in Merthyr Tydfil. Hoover, a great American name, but also a great British name. This factory is now closed because it's all made in China. But it's great for filming. You know, there are lots of bits of equipment about. And they were the stars of the kids, as it were, from the latest series of the programme, and the dog. And the dog went to school with Clyde. He did the barbecue. He got covered in gunk. Twice. That's the director, Joss, who decided to do that episode. Different coloured gunk, notice. He was a real pain to clean. He got everywhere. It was a small, safe gunk, but it really got absolutely everywhere. It's all right for the car, so you can go and have a shower. You can't actually do that with the dog. He always draws attention. This is the house, actually in Cardiff, which is supposed to be in Ealing. But the kids walking past, the dog, they stop. Interesting enough, and perhaps sadly prophetic, in the story, Luke leaves to go to university, prodigy, you know, he's only 13 or 14, he goes to Cambridge or Oxford or one of the two, and he takes the dog with him, so the dog is leaving the series. Unfortunately, Liz dies suddenly, not from a long illness as was originally done. It was a very short, quick diagnosis, which only lasted about a month or so. And that actually is the last ever picture taken with Liz and the dog when I took it. So, sadly, we've lost Liz. We don't know what's happening at all with it, and people say, what's happening with the dog? He's available for weddings and bar mitzvahs, basically. So there we are, the complete enough history to date of a mechanical mutt. Any questions? I will point out that there is more, not specifically on the dog at all, in the book. For myself, and I mentioned Mike Tucker, saw pictures of him, wrote BBC VFX, very original, but it does what it says on the tin, on the cover. Copies are available from the Cult TV stand. I will be there to sign it if you wish. And the only copies that are in the US are over there, actually, apparently, at the moment. So there we are. That is it. As I said, there's the ears, there's the collar, there's the toe. There's his American cousin. Are there any questions? I don't have much time. There you are. Yeah. Any questions? Or? I've stunned you all into silence. Yes?
Of all the effects that you did on the show, what was your favorite?
The last one that went correctly. I've had that question before.
Which was the first one?
It's very difficult to say, really. The funny thing, I did, we never got it here, although we used an American term. It wasn't moving on. We did a series called Truckers, which was a